All right, guys, welcome to Job 31. We are going to continue Job's discourse here because his other friend is going to speak up. And he has an interesting little speech there. Job is finishing his multi chapter discourse here. And so we're going to get right into it because he's still declaring his case. He has gone all out. He has spoken so elaborately on his situation in all its aspects. I have made a covenant with my eyes. Why then should I look upon a young woman? For what is the allotment of God from above, and the inheritance of the Almighty from on high? Is it not destruction for the wicked, and disaster for the workers of iniquity? What would be a worker of iniquity? Somebody who seeks to sin, practices it. It's part of their life, and they will not let it go. Does he not see my ways and count all my steps? This is something we must remember. Should cause great conviction. The Lord sees everything we do, whether we know we're doing it or not. He sees it. He counts it. It's recorded. There's a lot of books. The Bible tells us this. All the books were opened, and the book of life was opened. If I have walked with falsehood, or if my foot has hastened to deceit, let me be weighed on honest scales, that God may know my integrity. See, even back then, integrity is the way to go for Christians. Now, don't let me scare anybody. Wait a minute, you're telling me my sins are forgiven, but then all this stuff's being recorded? Yeah, but there's a reason for it. We don't fully know everything surrounding it. But the Bible says, one of the apostles says, each man will give an account. There's no condemnation for us anymore. Your sins are forgiven, done deal. But there's still stuff that has to be done, and that's all going to happen in the future. And we'll get there. But for us, we're exempt from the destruction. Those who take place in the first resurrection, the second death has no power. It's the second resurrection that's got the problem. Let me be weighed on honest scales, that God may know my integrity. If my step is turned from the way, interesting he uses that those two words, the way. Remember, 2,000 years ago, Christians were called the people of the way. Or my heart walked after my eyes, or if any spot adheres to my hands, then let me sow, and another eat. Yes, let my harvest be rooted out. If my heart has been enticed by a woman, or if I have lurked at my neighbor's door, then let my wife grind for another, and let others bow down over her. For that would be wickedness. Yes, it would be iniquity, deserving of judgment. And he's right. That is sin deserving of judgment. Verse 12, for that would be a fire that consumes to destruction. It would root out all my increase. If I have despised the cause of my male or female servants when they complained against me. How interesting. He knows the law. What then shall I do when God rises up? When he punishes, how shall I answer him? Did not he who made me in the womb make them? Here's another person talking about that. Remember, Daniel mentions that. David mentions that. Here's someone else talking about that. He made me in the womb. Does not the same one fashion us in the womb? If I have kept the poor from their desire, or caused the eye of the widow to fail, or eaten my morsel by myself, so that the fatherless could not eat of it? But from my youth I reared him as a father, and from my mother's womb I guided the widow. If I have seen anyone perish for lack of clothing, or any poor man without covering, if his heart has not blessed me, and if he was not warmed with the fleece of my sheep, if I have raised my hand against the fatherless, when I saw I had help in the gate, then let my arm fall from my shoulder, let my arm be torn from the socket. So he's being very honest here. If that's happened, if I did those things, let me be accursed. But here's the thing, he didn't do those things. He's proving a point. Verse 23, for destruction from God is a terror to me, and as it should be for all of us, not the world. And because of his magnificence, I cannot endure. If I have made gold my hope, or said to find gold, you are my confidence, lover of money. If I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, gained the whole world, and because my hand had gained much. And if I have observed the sun when it shines, or the moon moving in brightness, worshipping of nature, so that my heart has been secretly enticed, and my mouth has kissed my hand, loving himself, this also would be an iniquity deserving of judgment, for I would have denied God who is above. How amazing. Job is talking about everything in the law. Incredible. If I have rejoiced at the destruction of him who hated me, or lifted myself up when evil found him, indeed I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his soul. If the men of my tent, not condemning others, if the men of my tent had not said, who is there that has not been satisfied with his meat? But no sojourner had to lodge in the street, for I have opened my doors to the traveler. Good morning. If I have covered my transgressions as Adam, by hiding my iniquity in my bosom, because I feared the great multitude and dreaded the contempt of families, so that I kept silence and did not go out of the door. Oh, that I had one to hear me. Since his friends haven't, here is my mark. Oh, that the Almighty would answer me, that my prosecutor had written a book. How funny. Because he did. Job also mentions earlier, we covered that earlier chapter, that his words were written in a book. They were. Verse 36, surely I would carry it on my shoulder and bind it on me like a crown. I would declare to him the number of my steps. Like a prince I would approach him. If my land cries out against me and its furrows weep together, if I have eaten its fruit without money or caused its owners to lose their lives, then let thistles grow instead of wheat and weeds instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. What a discourse. In one single chapter of 40 verses, chapter 31, Job described the whole law. He declared all the things the New Testament describes. Incredible. There's more to Job than anyone's realized. Job is an exceedingly wise man. Now, I venture a guess that God has put this inspiration in him. See, there's times when you're reading the Bible that a lot of it won't catch your eye, or maybe it'll be a little bit boring. I challenge you that when that starts to happen, slow down and back up a few verses and read again, because suddenly you're going to discover something. You're going to realize, wait a minute, there's more here. Because what I've found through my personal experience is that when it seems like it's just rambling, there's very important information being given. Have you ever heard anybody talk about this in Job 31? I haven't. He mentions the whole law and its aspects within this chapter. He talks about cheating on his wife cheating on him. He talks about love being a lover of money, a lover of self, earth worship. On and on and on. Incredible. So what he is doing here, and this is funny because to me this is twofold. It sounds like he's doing what Jesus did when he started to draw on the ground with his finger. He's writing their sins out. He's calling these guys out by mentioning their sins. It seems to me like Job also knows a whole lot more of what was going on. Because, and this is just me spitballing here, but the fact that he would mention him cheating on his wife, but then if that's the case, then all of this should have happened to my wife, and he's talking about, the reference seemed like he was saying multiple men. I wonder if his friends were involved in that, and maybe Job knew about it, or if he didn't, he knows now. I don't know, but that sure stands out. There's a lot in this chapter. We're barely going to even cover it here, but there's a lot in this chapter. Job is pulling out all the stops. I think God is doing a work right here, because I think he's inspired him to speak these words. Evidently he did, because God put his book in, allowed his book to be written down and put it in the Bible. So there's a reason, and God is the reason. Amazing. You go back and read through this, you'll probably find more. My goal isn't to touch on everything. My goal isn't to go into great detail. My goal is to inspire those listening to go and read more. If I'm going to cover something specific, that's when we get into great detail. Right now, these readings is not to get into great detail. We'll come back and visit them later when the subject arises. So I know a lot of people don't watch these videos because I'm not covering a bunch of things, giving some special revelation or anything like that. That's not the goal of this. The goal is to get it recorded. The goal is to put it down. The goal is to read it and look at it and see what jumps out, because the Lord will reveal things. And when the time's right, he'll bring us back. But look at what we've discovered here in Job 31. This is exciting to me as whenever I was doing Ecclesiastes 12. And I have that playlist. And that video, all of a sudden it sounds like he's talking specifically about the rapture of the church. And I have yet to find anybody that's seen that. And that's amazing. It also tells you the time of year it happens. The words were, man goes to his eternal home and the mourners go out in the streets. That sounds like rapture to me. It says it happens when the almond tree is in bloom. How funny. That's April, May, June time frame. Incredible. Job to expose so much of this all of a sudden. Now his friends, they got nothing to say now at this point. Yet we know in the next chapter one of them opens his mouth and starts talking. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say. Now, after Job has unloaded like this, I mean, it's been, 4 chapters? He has completely obliterated all their arguments. This chapter 31, if I did this, then this should happen to me. If I did this, then this should happen to me. If I did any of these things, all judgment should fall on me. Yet, what's happened? I haven't done those things. I've walked in integrity. Lord, search me out and test me. The Lord knows. He knows. He knows Job has held his integrity. That's why he told Satan, have you considered my servant? See, God's got a plan. He's got a plan. And though he's bringing Job through this, remember that statement, he's bringing Job through this, not saving him from it. Remember when Jesus told Peter, Satan seeks to sift you as wheat? He sifted him as wheat. He didn't save him from it, he saved him through it. Jesus made that prayer. Father, I don't ask you to take them out of it, but you save them through it. Strengthen them. There's something about this type of issues and suffering and struggles that makes the character of the person so much different, so much greater. And here we're seeing a real life, literal example. Of course, there are people out there, oh, there's never proven Job was real. Oh, really? We have the historical evidence of it. We have archaeological evidence of it. Job is real. He was very real. His descendants still live today. So, another incredible discovery in the Bible. There's many more. And we have just scratched the surface on it. If you have time, go back and read it again. Read slowly and think about what else could be exposed here. If there's more, the Lord's going to reveal it to you. By all means, share it in the comments. I love that he's leading us through this because it's incredible. There's so much in these books. The prophets, the early fathers, there's so much in these books. Especially stuff that applies to real life, to right now, and applies prophetically to the time frame we're living in. We are that last generation. Here we are, seeing it with our own eyes. What a blessing. What an incredible privilege. Because you just as easily, and I just as easily, could have been born 200 years ago and not seen any of this. Could have easily been born 100 years ago and not seen any of this. But God picked us to be chose us to be alive now. And to see all these things while we're saved. Incredible. Guys, that was Job 31. The next video will be Job 32. Elihu contradicts Job's friends. This is going to be interesting. Going to be different. I'll see y'all in that video.